And hello, you amp aficionados. My name is Henning Pauli. In case you didn't know this, the channel's called HP42. I know it's a little bit cryptic, but that's what we're doing. Today we're looking at the Zuta LA25 MKII. That's letters, numbers, letters, and then 2 sticks. You might not have heard of Zuta, which is fine, even though they've been around a few years. Let me tell you about the genesis of this amp. And no, that's more than a band, that's also a word. Bascom Zuta lives in Sweden. That's the guy behind these amps. Is good friends with Reinhard Bogner. And together they embarked on making a small lunchbox version of the Ecstasy. I think it was called the Ecstasy 25 or something like this, or Ecstasy Mini, whatever. You might have seen this somewhere, but it never came to fruition. They, I think, parted ways amicably. And then Zuta released the LA25 as a lunchbox head, based on the DNA of the Ecstasy. And the LA25 MKII, in these 3 rack spaces, is the evolution of the LA25 lunchbox head. So it has about 25% Bogner DNA in it, and then a lot of features that were added. So it is kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, as we will find out in a bit. Before we can look at it, we're going to take out of the box, and a very impressive box it is. I'm going to say the beautifully cut foam in the box is costing you as much as some pedals do. It's stunningly well packaged.
Ding dong, the bitch is there. She died of an STD, and no one came to her funeral. They did not want to be seen. Ding dong, the slave is dead. His back pain he couldn't stand, so the prospect of deep pockets somehow slid out of his hands. Guess what? Whoa, another lambing hits the ground. Another lambing hits the ground. Ding dong, the Pope is dead, murdered by 2 unweds.
So before you can decide whether or not you want to stay in this video, let's get some beautiful product shots of this behemoth and some sounds. And then you know whether you want to stay or not. Before we get to the music that I wrote with this, let me give you the full run around, and then pretty cool song, I might say. I got some of the best guitar sounds I've ever gotten, ever. I played this stuff and I was like, holy crap. Not everything is rosy and nice about this. This is a review channel, we don't demo. So, more on that later. It is a 3-rack space. Why? I don't know. I think it should be a head shell because that's just convenient. But again, I mean, with this, I'm wrong, because it is clearly intended to be a studio tool. And having this in a rack in a studio, wired up to your DAW or audio interface, is a very good idea for many reasons. It's pretty impressive how they thought of the studio musician, which is why it has 25 watts. Tubes, I don't know. I read it on the website. I skipped that. On the GBG, I know. On this, I don't. I don't care. It's got tubes. The engineering is phenomenal. This rack's pretty deep, and when we look in the back, you can clearly see that it's not even filling it out. It's 17 centimeters deep. It's very impressive. It's not very heavy. It's 8 kilo or 7 point something. So you could put this in a 3-rack space, like soft case or whatever, and actually carry it on a plane legally. Yep. This is hand luggage, if you want it. Pretty impressive. Let's skip this section for a second. We have 3 channels, and the layout is a bit confusing to me because it's from left to right, it's channel 3, 2, 1 instead of 1, 2, 3. Okay, so those are gains. Then we got 2-band EQ for the clean channel. You can see TB, treble bass. These change when you change channels, so you always know which controls to control. Then we've got the volumes for clean 2 and 3. Now explain to me how we got 3, 2, 1 and then 1, 2, 3. That's confusing as hell. Okay, moving on. Global presence, as indicated by the P. And then a shared EQ, which really means it's more difficult to use in a live situation because you got a 3-channel amp with a shared EQ. In a studio, who gives a flying rat's ass? You just set it up, play your track. If you know you want to come back later, take a photo. You don't need recallability in a studio. We've got a standby switch right here. And that turns the beautiful on switch to red, very clearly indicated. These little pushies are all over the amp, and they are kind of tough to see where they're set. Do you know which one is in and out? Nope. So I suggested that these need to be clear pushes with LEDs behind it so that they at least light up, maybe different colors. The visual feedback for the channels with the lights above them is very nice. The visual feedback for this section is not great, but that's okay. I at least bitched about it. We have a combo input, right? So you can go in XLR. Why would you possibly do this? Well, because this amp can be switched to line in. I guess when you go in XLR, it automatically is line in because you can't switch it. And you can reamp with it very easily without the use of a reamp box. A reamp box takes your line signal down to instrument signal, and the amp does that internally. So you could just record a DI signal, which the amp also helps you to do, and then go in XLR and Bob's your uncle and very easily reamp with this. Or you just plug in a guitar like I'm doing. There's a ground lift in case you got issues. Let's go into what a DI effects is. When you are recording, you can take a raw DI signal, just the guitar, out of this amp into your DAW. So you wire that up to an extra input and you're just tracking raw DI so that later you could reamp. But what if you wanted pre-effects? So let's say a compressor and maybe a chorus, any kind of effect you would have in front of your amp. Do you want to track those on the DI track, or do you want the DI track as raw as possible? Well, in the back here, we have a pre-DI effects right there. And that's a tip ring sleeve, so it's an insert, and you can loop in anything you would have in front of your amp, chorus, univibe, you name it, and it'll go through the amp as it would on a pedal board in front of the amp. But you can choose whether or not that goes to the DI out or not. So this DI out over here, right there, XLR, that has the raw DI signal. Or you can choose whether what's plugged in here in the pre-DI effects is also on it. So let's say the compressor. And you do that with this push button. And that clearly shows you that it's made for the studio. We have a channel switch, which is really annoying to me because it just circles through the channels. You can't go click, click, click. You can't pick a channel directly, and it goes 1, 3, 2 instead of 1, 2, 3. Annoys the living fuck out of me. Okay? Of course, there is a foot switch that's included, and you can go directly where you want to go. But the little circle thing going 1, 3, 2, 1, annoying. Low cut, which really affects the signal. Open makes everything louder and better, and why would you not have that in all the time? Is it a more open sound? I don't know. It gets louder and it's just more fun. Plexi kind of takes level and gain down and is a different mode. Now the question is that in or is that in? Can you tell? Can you tell if that's in or that's in? Is that in or is that in? In is on. Well, you can't tell because it doesn't light up. Okay, annoying. Bright, I think, only applies to the clean channel. And you know what it does? Bright. Or Brigid, as it says. Boost applies to channel 2 and 3 and kicks the gain up quite a notch. Effects return is the level for what's coming back from the effects, and you can turn the effects on right there. That thing doesn't even go in or out. It literally stays in the same depthitude. And the only way to know whether effects are on or off is listen or look on the foot switch. See, when I'm pushing this, effects lights up. But would you have the foot switch connected in a studio? I wouldn't. Okay. And then we've got these two, which govern the frequency compensated DI out. So it is a speaker simulation, but analog. And that comes out of the virtual mic. And we're, of course, going to test that. And that can be mic or line output. There are the speaker outs. There is a line out. So you could send this into an IR loader. I sent it into the Axe Effects to put an IR on it. And there's, of course, the effects loop. So you could actually use all these outputs at the same time. Caps, virtual cap, line out to go into whatever you want, IR loader, or just record that in your computer. And the DI mic out for a dry DI signal. You can clearly tell this is made for the studio. Record everything. Analog speaker sim. Line out for putting on an IR. Go to the speaker, record the mic. Record the dry guitar for reamping later. How do you reamp? Go out of your audio interface, go right into here without a reamp box. Nifty. So the thing clocks in at €2,800, 27.99 or something. It's rather pricey for 25 watts. But if it sounds good, who gives a crap how loud it is, right? Because it's made for a studio where volume isn't a thing that you're concerned with. Before we now run you through its paces, let's check out the track I recorded with it. I went out of the slave out, had nothing connected because it's got an internal reactive load. So it doesn't need a cab connected. It automatically knows there's no cab connected. I went out of the slave out directly into the Axe Effects 3. And all I did in there is put on a Marshall 1960 cab. And Bob's your uncle. Here are the sounds.
Two-bed dreams on Zuta streets, rag-mounted beats, 3 spaces deep. Quality high and tone so sweet. Foot switch clicks beneath my feet. Studio lit with glowing fire. Cranking volume, take me high.
Now the last thing to do is get sounds. Before we do that, one little thing of bitching. Look at the foot switch, which is very high-end. Everything Zuta is very, very, very high-end. The cable is hardwired to the foot switch. I don't like that. Which means the length that it is, if your cable breaks, your foot switch breaks. And if you look in the back, it is actually a weird 6 or 7 pin or whatever right here. It does screw onto it right there, but this could have been done with an XLR cable as they did on the GBG. I'm not super happy about that. Some of these knobs are a little bit, I'm gonna call them sticky. I think they fixed them a little bit too close to the chassis. Nothing you can't fix with a little Allen wrench and loosening them a bit, but they're very tight. Everything off, I'm gonna say. This is gonna annoy you because how do you know? How do you know where you are? It's a little bit difficult to see. I have this very, very amazing Sully 71 Trella, and that's the import version. This is the Conspiracy series, which clocks in at only $1,500 and is just a phenomenal guitar, hip shot locking. Gonna go single coil on this. What you're hearing is an SM57 right next to the cone, a AEA R92 ribbon mic right there, just a little bit above the cone. Those two, of course, mixed together and then mixed in the room with an AEA R88A. That's a complicated thing to say, and that's about $1.50 m away. That's a beautiful stereo ribbon mic that's actually more expensive than the amp, but that captures the room beautifully. So if you're hearing some pick noises in the back and stuff like this, it's because I'm also miking the room. We are mixing all that together for beautiful sounds. Later, of course, the DI out as well. So I kick this in. In the effects loop, I got the good old 2290p. On preset A, as I always have. What a great box. The open doesn't seem to work for the clean channel. Clean channel has its own rules, right? As you can see, I've got presence and treble up, because for the drive channels, they tend to be a bit on the duller side, so you want to crank that stuff up. See what we can do with the Bright? Is it in? Now it is. Can you get cleans with this amp? Yes, you can. I mean, if you're looking for better cleans, you're going to have to buy a dedicated clean amp for about the same price as this is, like the Decilia Single 25 or the Tube Workshop Single 6, you know, something that's just a dedicated clean machine. But this will do the job just fine. Can it handle pedals? Well, I have a tube screamer on the board. This is the wrong EQ. I'm an idiot. This is the right EQ. Sweet already with the Tube Screamer. I mean, some nice lower gain leads there. So yes, it can handle pedals. Let's move on to channel 2. I click here because I don't know what that button does. So, channel 2, I feel is missing a bit top endiness. But let's see. Can you tell what I mean? You know, I feel there's quite a bit of heft in the low end, which we don't necessarily need, so we unheft it with the low card. How about more gain? We're going to push in the boost. Nice. Gotta tweak it a bit, and then very neat. Now, gonna take the boost off again, gonna kick in the open, and it's gonna make it a lot more different. And no low card. It's much clearer with the low card, and the open is pretty much a keep it in. Let's kick in the plexi. Quite a bit less gain there, but a different vibe. Kick in the boost. Right? Quite a bit less. So we're going to crank up the gain. Definitely more vintagey inspired. Let's get that out again, and here we go with the boost on channel 2 and the open in. And some effects. can only tell you that the Zuta LA25 MKII has some of the nicest leads out there. That's just the boosted channel 2. If we kick in the tube screamer in front of it, see what happens. That's pretty damn dope. Moving on to channel 3. I don't know why you would take that open out, because now it's cool, but it's like it could be cooler. Gain's at 2 o'clock there. It's pretty impressive already. We can boost that. So if there isn't enough top end, you can get it if you really want. That is a little bit, okay. So let's kick in the open, which we didn't have. And that's where you get the most incredible lead channel ever. Boost the mids there, kick in the delay, and check this. So yeah, that lead channel is ridiculous. You can dial that in the studio, Bob's your uncle, track the whole thing in DI and all that stuff. Let's, now that we know what it does, check out the virtual mic thing. which is probably a nice add-on that it's there, but you'll likely mic it up or go through an IR loader. So I just unplugged the speaker cap, and now we're going DI into the mixer. So we got distance and angle. So angle should be yeah, that does something. Since it's analog, of course, you have no latency. So even for tracking, this is a nice feature to have if you then later put on an IR, which inherently, since it's digital, will add latency. What does distance do? It softens the top end. You know what? For DI solution that's frequency compensated out and not digital, that's one of the better ones. Would I track with that and use it? I probably could, but there are other options. Having this as one of the options that you're recording along with others, you can record 4 different output solutions with this at the same time, is pretty impressive. Now, my 2 cents. 2800 is a lot. I'm honest. So the Soldano, what's that thing called? Astro 20. It's 20 watts. Got built in IR in different flavors of Soldano, clocking in at 2300. The Rev G50, 50 watt, 3 channels, built in Torpedo Captor X, clocks in at 2400. Okay, yes. I think it's got some issues like the cable on the foot switch, and these switches, when you're looking at it, you really have to pay attention to how they're set. However, when you're dialing in each sound correctly by itself, you can get a huge variety of tones with this. Especially in the high gain and lead territory, this is very, very, very good, right? Are there better Marshall-y tones? Probably. Are there mind-blowing clean tones out there? This is very, very good. But is it the best of the best when it comes to clean? It's very good. It's not the best of the best. It's very good, though. High gain and lead, having it in your rack as a studio tool, tracking DI at the same time, being able to reamp without a reamp box. It's an amazing studio tool if you're into higher gain tones. Absolutely. 100%. Built to the finest specs, ready to go as a rack unit. Talking about rack unit, I completely forgot to say this because I didn't want to just put it on the speaker by itself. That just doesn't look nice. It looks like it's unfinished. I asked Thomann if they could supply me with their tone racks. So thank you, Karim, for sending these. This is a 100-something euro rack. You build it yourself in minutes, very, very easily with the supply tools. Don't need any extra. No, you need a screwdriver for these things. Careful, the front, because it's very, very thick metal, the front of this is so thick that the supplied screws weren't long enough. So you need longer rack screws for the Zuta amps. The supplied screws were not long enough to go through the double thick metal front. This is extremely well built. It is very tiny. It's only this deep. Penis something. And you could take it on a plane if you wanted to. There are many uses for this. You'll know whether you're the kind of person that's into this. If you're looking for something to sit in your rack in a studio as a super flexible, full tube recording tool, consider the Zuta LA25 MKII. It's built on the shoulders of giants, and those giants are Bogner giants. That's it from me. I'll put links below. Please use them. Please don't use honey for coupon codes. That rips us all off, and it rips you off as well, so don't do that. Thank you, Bascom, for commissioning this video. And animals at the end.
I wanna dive in your ocean. I wanna dive. I wanna rise a better life.